In this video, we're going to show you how you can print and assemble your own 3D printed soldier nutcracker. So stick around. Printable Science presents a 3D printed soldier nutcracker. For some years, I've wanted to get around to putting out seasonal 3D printed projects for special occasions in the year, and I think I've finally gotten around to it. I'm hoping I can make Christmas with this video. We'll see. We're just shooting it now, and I have to edit it up and see what can happen. Anyway, I've got a good friend, Mel, who likes printing off and assembling figures and a variety of things like that, and it finally hit me what would be a great Christmas 3D printing project. Holiday season is the Nutcracker. So I ordered one and see what the fuss was about. And you can pick one of these up yourself for about, I don't know, $15 to $20, and there you have it. But you can print your very own, and it looks better, in my opinion, and it works better, and is also got the advantage to, it's got a removable hat, so you can tuck a little money in the top or something if you're giving it as a gift to somebody and they may not even be aware that it's there. So that's what we're going to do. There's an incredible number of parts to this when it's all said and done. Only one of the parts which is actually moving, but there you have it. The main thing is, of course, it uses a variety of different colors of filament. Feel free to change things up as you wish if you decide to print this. And if you are planning to make this project, you might want to watch this video through to the end, because there's a couple of construction options that you should probably take some time to consider whether or not you want to incorporate that in your own assembly. So here we go. The 2019 Printable Science Soldier Nutcracker was modeled in OpenSCAD, and there's a link to where you can get that program down below. OpenSCAD is a great 3D modeling program, although it doesn't have a fancy GUI like Fusion 360 or any of the others, but it does a great job of what I need it to do, and the price is right. As I mentioned previously, there's quite a few parts in this model, 45 at last count, but that's if you don't count the teeth individually. It's 53 parts if you do. And in the version of the Nutcracker I printed, that also works out to 7 different colors. There's the royal blue for the platform and the cuff, the pants and the lapel, as well as the blue facing for the front of the jaw. There's light blue for the irises of the Nutcracker's eyes. There's black for his boots, belts, mustache, eyebrows and pupils, his hair and hat. There's gold for the top of the boots, the epaulets for his arms, the buttons for his pants and the buttons for his coat, and finally gold for the chevron that is stuck into his hat. There's red for his pant legs and sleeves, his body, the axle for the jaw, and the plug to hide the axle on the body. The pin to secure his arms to the body is red as well, and so is the part of his mouth that sticks in his head, and red for the jaw or lever, the one moving part of this project. And finally, there's white for his teeth and eyeballs. Unfortunately, we're not done yet, as a number of the pieces are so small they need to be printed with a brim so that they will stick to the build plate. All told, you'll be printing off around 11 build plates. But there's a bit of variance in how you print these things. You could choose to print some parts that nominally don't need a brim, along with the ones that do, and simply peel the brim off the larger parts as well. That could keep your build plate count down. If you're printing this on a smaller printer, like say the Monoprice Mini Select, then you may find you actually need to have even more build plates to accommodate the printing of all the parts. All the parts were printed in PLA with a 0.4 millimeter nozzle, 2 bottom layers, 3 top layers, 2 perimeters, and a 20% infill. I used a Prusa Mark III's for this project, primarily so I could take advantage of the time-lapse features of Octolapse, which is a plugin that runs with the Octoprint management program. But you don't really need a large printer for this project. As I mentioned previously, you can successfully print off all of this on something as small as a Monoprice Select Mini. After all your parts are printed, you'll have the following. You'll have your light blue irises that will need a brim. You'll need 2 build plates for the blue, first for your single brimmed part, and then a non-brimmed plate for the rest of the parts. You'll need a brimmed black build plate, primarily for all the annoying little bits of the face like the mustache and pupils and eyebrows, but you should probably also print the scalp with a brim as well. All of the STL files should present the parts in the correct orientation for printing, and that should make things a little bit easier. The non-brimmed black build plate is for the boots and the hat. The gold brimmed plate is for the knees and the tops of the boots. That's probably overcautious, and you may well feel you can get away with printing them without a brim, in which case they'd share build plate space with the epaulettes, pants buttons, lapel buttons, and hat chevron. The red brimmed part is for the upper mouth, the axle plug, and the pins for attaching the arms to the body. The non-brimmed red plate is for the body, thighs, sleeves, and jaw back. The flesh-colored build plate is non-brimmed as there are no small parts. It just contains the hands and the head. And finally, there's the white brimmed plate for the left and right eyeballs and the set of teeth that fit in the upper and lower jaws. It's important to try and remove the teeth with the brim still intact from the build plate. By keeping the teeth attached to the brim, you'll be able to glue all the teeth of the upper and lower jaw in one go, rather than trying to do it one tooth at a time. It ain't pretty, and you'll probably end up getting glue all over your hands. So let's get started with assembly and start with a general tip. To the best of your ability, test fit the pieces before you apply glue. In my haste to get this video done, I didn't do a very good job of following my own advice and ran into a couple of situations where things would have gone a lot more smoothly if I'd just spent a few minutes cleaning the parts beforehand and making sure I had the orientation right. It's only through the magic of creative video editing that you don't see the problems I encountered. So let's start by putting the teeth in place, and here you'll want to make sure that you've got the right set of teeth going with the right part. And here is where we take advantage of having left the brim on the teeth. Once you've got all that figured out, just use some glue and dab it onto the tops of the teeth. Then place the teeth in position and give the glue some time to set. Next, we assembled the 2 arms. Each arm consists of an epaulette, cuff, arm, and hand, as well as a pin that fastens the arm to the Nutcracker body. After the arms, we work on the legs, gluing the gold boot tops to the boots, and then the legs onto the boots. The head assembly is the most intricate of the model. This is one of the parts where adequate preparation of the pieces will pay off with easier construction. You'll also want to pay particular attention to the eyeballs matching the left eyeball STL printed object to the left eye socket in the head. Now, left and right here refer to the left and right side of the Nutcracker, not your left and right. After the mustache and the eyebrows are attached, you can glue on the scalp. It's pretty straightforward. Just make sure that the thicker edge of the scalp is pointing toward the top of the head. Also, how you handle the hair is one of the main options in assembly, so if you want to see another approach, keep on watching the vid. We set the head aside for a minute and start work on the body. It's comprised of 8 pieces, and we begin by gluing together the vest and the vest buttons. Then we carry on by gluing the pant buttons and the front of the pants, and follow that by gluing the belt buckle onto the front of the belt. Then we glue those sub-assemblies onto the body. A little bit of glue to attach the pants and the vest, and although it's in the wrong place in this video, this is where you should attach the belt to the body as well. It's all a question of how long your glue takes to dry and how much of a rush you're in. However, the important thing is to attach the belt before you attach the arms. We then move on to the hat by adding some glue to the back of the gold chevron and then inserting it in place. We can assemble the base now by putting some glue on the bottom of the boots and inserting them in place. Just make sure you've got the feet pointing the right way. The legs are in the center of the platform and the ends of the boots are at the edge. You'll note that our holiday model has 2019 embedded in the base, but you can check below for information on how you can get an STL file with the lettering of your choice. It doesn't have to say 2019. We then glue the body to the glue legs. Once again, make sure you got the orientation right. The front of the body, the part that has the gold buttons and such, points towards the 2019 of the pedestal. We then move on to the jaw, and we take that bit of blue vest that has a channel in it, apply some glue, slide it onto the jaw, watch the orientation, and then wipe away any glue excess. It's back to the head, and this is kind of finicky work because they are small parts. Test fitting will be appropriately rewarded at this point, but if things don't snap together as you would like them to, a little bit of glue can hide most fitting problems. The most important thing is to get that part in the relatively right position and glue that sucker down and wait until it sets. Do this for the eyeballs, the irises, and the pupils. At this point you can take the mouth, and at this point you should be able to just peel away the brim of the teeth, slap some glue on the top of the mouth, and slide it into place. Just make sure those teeth are in the right orientation. The rounded parts should be towards the top of the head, and the flat part should be facing down. Now you want to glue the arms in place. There's an error here in the vid as the belt is not already installed, but as I mentioned previously, you just want to make sure that the belt has already been glued in place before you get to this point, before you attach the arms. We're getting close to completion now, as it's time to glue the head to the body. You want to add glue to the pins at the top of the body, but don't get too carried away, as too much glue will ooze out, and if you don't wipe it up before it sets, then it's going to interfere with the assembly and operation of the jaw lever. Next, we take our jaw lever, remove the brim from the teeth, and slide it into place. We then get our axle and slide it into the hole on the side of the body, and it should slide in without much effort, and that will allow the jaw lever to slide smoothly. There's a couple of assembly options I want to go over with you for you to consider before you start putting your Nutcracker together. And first of all is to talk to you about the hair. It is pretty much what you'd expect from a wooden Nutcracker that you might buy, but we also have the option of going with kind of like simulated hair, made particularly well known with the Hairy Lion 3D printed figurine. And you can print this off. There's a file in the batch that are available to you. So what you want to do is get this. It'll come off the build plate like this, and you just want to take a utility knife and cut off the sacrificial wall that's there, and we'll just do that. And there we have it, and you can just sort of visually inspect it and pull out any extra hairs that are in the way. And then you simply get a bit of glue. Okay, so here we are. The scalp is attached to the head, and I also took the opportunity while that was setting up to attach some more of the pieces to this second model of the Nutcracker. And all we need to do is at this point is take just a cotton ordinary hair dryer and plug it in, and then use the hot air from the hair dryer to melt the PLA that we've got here, and that should give us something that approximates something that looks like hair. So let's give that a go. Okay, so I've got here just a piece of parchment paper. You can use probably aluminum foil. We just want to deflect the heat from the rest of the model and just have it blow on the hair if possible. I can't even tell you for sure if this is strictly necessary, but it makes me feel bad, so I guess that's what we'll go. So we got our gun, and we got it plugged in. Watch, I'll probably blow a fuse. Won't that be exciting? And let's see here. Let's see, maybe we can just also give this a bit of a haircut. Okay, so here he is, and we'll just trim this hair a bit. And there you go. And of course, you could style the hair any way you want in that way. So now that we've done that, we can just do the last little bit of construction. But before we do, I want to go over the second option. There. See, he's got a nice full head of hair underneath his cap. Nobody needs to know that he's got an odd-shaped bald head at the top, because the hat doesn't have to come off. So here we have our first one that we assembled, and here we have the one that we've just been putting together with our hairdo. Looks pretty good. I had mentioned that we have another construction option that you might want to consider, and that is while the files supply you with an axle for the actual cracking mechanism, it is just printed plastic, and what's more, it's printed vertically, so it is not all that strong. So you might want to consider replacing the plastic printed axle with a metal one, and that's fairly easy to do, straightforward, and we'll do that now so you can see. You just have to spend a couple of bucks and get yourself some 3/16 inch steel rod. The hole is a 5 millimeter diameter, so those of you living in a metric country, a 5 millimeter piece of steel rod should do. And we just mark that off at, well, don't have to really mark that off. Take a Printable Science mini hacksaw and cut ourselves off a 28 millimeter long piece of steel rod. There we go. And so now we just take our Nutcracker with the hair and get our teeth. Put that hair up so we can stick that in, get it in there, and then lift the hair back over on this side and put it in. So there's our, as you can see, that it works fine, and if it's a little tight, it'll loosen up over time, of course. And there's our working Nutcracker. So now all that's left is the final steps of putting on the arms. So we'll just take a second and do that. Okay, so there we have it. We have two completed Nutcrackers from the printed files, and using at least the color scheme that I came up with. If you don't have the required filament colors, and feel free to substitute your own, or as you can see, you can actually get a fairly effective looking Nutcracker in just a basic white. Looks fairly attractive in its own right, even if it isn't got all the fancy colors. So there you go. And one of the design considerations when I was putting this together was I wanted something that could actually crack nuts, and if you do the web research you'll see that very few of these are, in spite of the fact that they have the mechanism. They fall apart when you actually try and get them to crack a nut. Now that's only one of the concerns, because here's a bowl of holiday nuts. You know, you got your walnut, and you got your Brazil nut, and you got your, I don't know whether that is a filbert and an almond. And here's the cute thing. Too big. Kinda too big. Kinda, there we go. Look at that, eh? Well, this one actually works. Well, that's an unusually small almond because some of them don't. Oh, well, like I said, well, I guess more of the almonds are these will actually really only crack an almond, because even though I made the mouth larger and wider than most of the commercial ones you could get of this size, it's still not big enough for most of the nuts that you would encounter. But to show you at least the concept, you know, you just put the nut in there and you press on the handle, and voila, as they say, you get a cracked nut. Voila. Shell fresh almonds. Let's give that a try. So, there you go. A working nutcracker for almonds and pistachios. No problem with pistachios, although they're not usually considered to be a seasonal Christmas nut, and they're already cracked for the most part anyway. I mean, right? We don't really need a nutcracker. So, in the great scheme of things, and to paraphrase the immortal words of Crocodile Dundee, this ain't a nutcracker. This is a nutcracker. So he's got a nice wide mouth. Can this baby crack nuts? Here's a walnut. If only I had a better cam, I could show you that in slow-mo. You want to see that again? Voila. How about Brazil nuts? Now we're getting exotic. Pretty rude. Mostly makes Brazil nut dust. So, there we have it. A variety of designs and concepts for your making pleasure. Hey, thanks for watching. There's links to all the relevant files and additional information below. And if you have any comments or concerns, please leave a comment. And if you'd like to see more of this kind of thing on the channel, you know what to do. Anyway, you can also visit us at our website, printablescience.com, where all the science that fits, we print.